Everyone believed he was nothing more than a miserable failure with absolutely no abilities, yet he eventually forms a contract with the most powerful spirit in the world to rise as the strongest hero. A was a useless loser born with the job class appraiser, a role that everyone regarded as completely worthless, but like any young man who still had dreams, he wanted to live his life as an adventurer in order to chase those dreams. He essentially became a slave to an adventurer party, working tirelessly to carry their equipment and loot in exchange for pay. The swordsman and his wizard girlfriend treated it like garbage, and he could not even fight back because he knew he was so useless that no other party would ever hire him. He stayed behind while the swordsman Zord and the wizard Jeline fought a rat monster, and once they finished, it became his responsibility to appraise the corpse and extract the valuable materials from it. Because he had no physical strength, he struggled to pull out the monster's valuable teeth, and when he asked for help, Zord simply threw a rock at him and told him that he did not deserve to be in any party if he could not even perform the single task assigned to him. And knew he had to continue working as an adventurer if he ever wanted to become rich, so he swallowed his frustration just like he swallowed his uncle's yogurt and somehow managed to pull out the monster's teeth. He continued following Zord and the wizard girl Jeline when they suddenly discovered the corpse of a powerful monster known as a hellhound. They believed it was their lucky day because hellhound parts could sell for a high price, and they immediately ordered A to get to work. A told them that the situation felt suspicious because hellhounds were not supposed to appear on this floor, but they dismissed his concerns and told him to stop thinking about matters beyond his pay grade. They shoved him toward the corpse, and while he was dismantling it, they noticed another corpse in the distance. Excited, they instructed A to appraise that one as well and collect all the valuable materials from its body too. However, A panicked because according to the map provided by the guild, this area was not considered safe. He tried to warn the swordsman that he had a bad feeling about the entire situation, but the jerk told him to stop acting like a coward if he wanted to keep his job. Zord threatened to fire him without paying him if he quit now, leaving A with no choice but to continue following them. Soon, they reached another section of the dungeon where hellhound corpses were scattered all around them. Zord and Jeline believed they had stumbled upon a treasure trove, but A alone realized that they had walked straight into a trap. He urged them to think carefully, explaining that if an adventurer had truly killed these hellhounds, the valuable materials would have already been taken. Unfortunately, the small-minded Zord was incapable of understanding logic and ordered A to shut up. Suddenly, A pointed toward a massive group of hellhounds charging at them, causing everyone to freeze in fear. A noticed blood around the hellhounds' mouths and realized that the dead hellhounds had been victims of a territorial gang war. The two adventurers nearly lost control because they could not even defeat a single hellhound, nor could they outrun them. Zord suddenly came up with an idea and told Jeline that they should use A as a decoy. A panicked upon hearing this, but he was unable to resist as Jeline cast a paralyzing spell on him, causing him to collapse to the ground completely unable to move. The two scumbags then fled after provoking the hellhounds, leaving A behind. A was completely delirious, but when the hellhounds began biting him, the pain snapped him back to his senses and broke the paralysis. He used a rock to drive the hellhounds away and then threw the food from his bag at them to distract them. Limping through the dungeon in an attempt to escape, he was horrified to discover that Zord and Jeline had blocked the exit. Fortunately, there was another path nearby, but it also led to a dead end. At that moment, A heard the sound of hellhounds approaching and realized that death was inevitable either way. He cursed his useless job that had caused him suffering throughout his entire life and thought that if he had never dreamed of becoming an adventurer, he might have lived a long and ordinary life. Understanding that it was too late for regrets, he decided to jump off the cliff without a parachute, believing it would be less painful than being torn apart by hellhounds. He leapt from the cliff while thinking about how he had lived and would die as a loser, and after falling for an extremely long time, he finally hit the ground. He was critically injured but not completely dead, and then a beautiful girl wearing a white dress appeared before him. She glitched repeatedly, vanishing and reappearing as she approached, and gently kissed his forehead. A barely caught a glimpse of her before losing consciousness. When he opened his eyes again, the girl was gone, but all his injuries had miraculously healed, and he found himself lying in a small pool at the base of a massive tree. A attempted to appraise the water to determine if it was safe to drink and was stunned to discover that it was an S-rank item called IG Drassel Drops, capable of instantly curing any injury or disease. He then appraised the enormous tree and learned that it was IG Dressel, also known as the World Tree, which produced an infinite supply of mana. A was shocked by this revelation, as the only world tree known to humanity had withered and disappeared long ago. The world tree had once been the sole source of mana for all people, yet even after its disappearance, mana could still be used. This led scholars to believe that other world trees existed, and although they searched tirelessly, they never succeeded in finding one. A could hardly believe that the world tree had been hidden so deep within the dungeon. Realizing that the tree had saved his life, he gently touched it and expressed his gratitude. He heard a soft moan, but seeing no one around, he assumed his mind was playing tricks on him. He then decided to take his chances and continue exploring the dungeon in hopes of finding a path back to the surface. Turning back to the tree, he thanked it once more before leaving, while the girl from earlier attempted to respond to him, though no words came from her mouth. A ventured deeper into the dungeon, believing the area must be extremely dangerous since even the guild had never reached such depths. Still, he continued forward because he had no other option. For a while, he encountered no monsters and began to relax, but suddenly a swift attack sliced off his ear, leaving him panicked. Before he could react, another rapid strike severed his fingers. He then saw an S-rank monster before him that lacked strong attack power but possessed incredible speed. The creature did not give A any chance to flee, unleashing a flurry of slashes. A attempted to crawl back toward the world tree, and the monster nearly stabbed him, but suddenly stopped. Looking up, A saw the most terrifying monster imaginable arrive and tear the creature apart. A ferocious black bear killed the eyeball monster and then slashed A's face, partially blinding him. A screamed in agony as the bear grabbed him and crushed him, attempting to break his bones. Certain that this was the end, A suddenly witnessed someone attack and kill the bear with a single strike. He could only make out the small silhouette of his rescuer and heard them mention that they had come only because someone special had asked them to. A then lost consciousness. When he awoke, he found himself once again at the base of the world tree, fully healed, with his damaged eye restored. Suddenly, the girl in white appeared before him, smiling warmly while holding a cup of tea, and A was instantly captivated by her ethereal beauty. Unable to take his eyes off her, A was interrupted when a woman named Ursula appeared and told him to stop having improper thoughts about her daughter. Completely confused, A could not understand why such a lowly-looking woman was calling the beautiful girl her daughter. Ursula scolded him for being rude and instructed him to drink the tea she had specially prepared. She practically forced the tea down his throat, and A found it incredibly delicious. He then learned that Ursula was the guardian of the world tree, and that the beautiful girl named Yuri was not actually her biological daughter. Ursula states that she never intended to go out of her way to save a lowly life form like a human, but because Yuri begged her repeatedly, she came to the dungeon and rescued her from the bear. A is still fixated on the part where Ursula revealed herself as the guardian of the world tree, and she explains that there are 9 world trees throughout the world, each protected by a guardian whose role is to watch over them and shield them from danger. She then drops a shocking revelation on A by telling him that Yuri is not a human at all, but the spirit of the world tree itself, and since Ursula has protected her since the very beginning, Yuri sees her as her mother. A comments that Yuri is extremely beautiful, which immediately irritates Ursula, who is unhappy that he is flirting with her daughter. She threatens to gouge out the eye she worked so hard to create for him, which reminds her that he had been injured and blinded by the bear earlier. Ursula explains that while the world tree's drops healed his body, they were unable to restore his damaged eye. However, Yuri wanted him to see again and become even stronger, so Ursula crafted a special eye for him using parts of the world tree itself. A is shocked by this revelation and asks Yuri why she cares so much about him. Yuri replies that it is because he was kind enough to thank her, and Ursula elaborates by explaining that many adventurers had fallen into this place before, and although Yuri saved all of them, none ever thanked her. Instead, after discovering she was the world tree, some even tore off her branches, which is why Yuri considers the small amount of kindness they showed her to be incredibly meaningful. A thanks her for saving his life twice, causing Yuri to blush, but Ursula interrupts the moment and tells A to leave their home now that he has recovered. Yuri immediately objects, saying that he would be in serious danger if he left in his current state, and she begs Ursula to help him, even breaking into tears. Unable to refuse her like this, Ursula decides to train A until he becomes strong enough to leave the dungeon on his own. Ursula wastes no time and takes him straight into the dungeon, causing A to think that he will never survive the training. She brings him to a dark corridor and tells him to look ahead, and A remarks that the place is darker than his future, prompting Ursula to call him A. She tells him that his left eye holds the power of the world tree, and that if he concentrates, he will be able to see far more than before. A focuses on his left eye while thinking about Yuri, and suddenly everything around him becomes as clear as daylight. Ursula is satisfied and then throws a stone at a sleeping eyeball monster, waking it up and sending it into a frenzy. She tells her that his first lesson is to dodge every attack from the monster using his appraisal skill. A tells her that appraisal does not work that way, but Ursula loses patience with this idiot who gives up before even trying and tells him that with his spirit eye, he can use appraisal differently. A tries again on the eyeball monster and discovers that it will target his right ear next. He is excited that he can read the monster's movements, but it still reaches him and slices off his ear anyway. Ursula immediately erects a barrier around them and heals A's ear using the World Tree's drops, telling him that no matter how badly he gets injured, she will heal him, which means there is no escape from the training. She removes the barrier, and the eyeball monster attacks again. A reads that it will strike his left leg, then uses appraisal once more to determine the exact timing, allowing him to dodge the attack successfully. However, as he proudly tells Ursula about it, the monster attacks him from behind. She scolds him for getting carried away just because he succeeded once, and he realizes she is right. He continues dodging the monster's attacks for an entire week, eventually learning to analyze both the location and timing of each strike simultaneously. He becomes capable of dodging every attack, but whenever he grows arrogant, the eyeball monster still manages to catch him off guard and injure him. Ursula heals him every time and finally declares that he has passed the first stage of training, announcing that it is now time for the second part. She tells him that his next task is to defeat the eyeball bat monster, but A argues that his job class is not suited for combat. Ursula tells him to stop whining like A, and hands him a branch of the World Tree that Yuri personally snapped off so he can use it as a weapon. She instructs him to use it properly and defeat the enemy. A accepts the challenge, believing that since he can now predict the monster's movements, defeating it should be easy, but he quickly realizes that his attacks are too slow to land a hit. He asks Ursula for advice, and she tells him to figure it out using the spirit eye. A decides to focus entirely on the monster's trajectory, and suddenly he unlocks an advanced form of his appraisal skill. By activating this enhanced ability, he can see the monster's movement path in slow motion, allowing him to launch a counterattack and smash the monster into the ground with a single blow. A is amazed by his newfound strength, but Ursula immediately chops him on the head and warns him not to become overconfident over such a small achievement. She then assigns him his next task, which is to defeat every eyeball bat monster on that floor. A completes the task much faster than Ursula expected, prompting her to announce that it is time for his next lesson. This time, she tells him to appraise the abilities of the eyeball monsters and make those powers his own. A insists that such a thing is impossible, but Ursula explains that while it is impossible for ordinary humans, he can do it with the spirit eye. A gives it a try, and after staring at the monster for some time, he suddenly acquires its super acceleration skill. His head feels like it is about to explode from the influx of information, and Ursula then tells him to activate the skill. A crouches down and sprints forward like my dad after my birth, but his muscles tear apart because they are not built to withstand such extreme strain. He collapses, and Ursula heals him with World Tree drops, telling him to keep running until he collapses again while she continues healing him. Each time, his muscles grow stronger, and after repeating this process hundreds of times, his body becomes capable of enduring anything. After several days, his physical strength improves drastically, and for the next lesson, Ursula tells him that she will allow him to appraise her abilities, even though she really does not want to. A asks her what the skill is, and Ursula suddenly blasts him with a fireball without warning. She explains that the ability she is teaching him allows magic to be cast without chanting spells, and she orders him to appraise her skill during the brief moment she fires a spell at him. A fails and gets burned medium well, prompting Ursula to heal him before blasting him again. Over time, A finally learns how to cast fireballs without chanting, but he quickly collapses due to insufficient mana. Fortunately, Yuri's World Tree drops rapidly restore his mana and even increase his maximum capacity. A continues training for about half a month, eventually becoming capable of launching hundreds of fireballs at once and using intermediate-level magic. Ursula finally tells him that he is strong enough to explore the dungeon on his own, but before letting him go, she insists on one final test. She takes him to face a death bear, and he becomes visibly nervous as memories of his past trauma resurface. Ursula tells him to have more confidence because he has trained relentlessly to become strong, then she pushes him forward toward the bear. A fires multiple fireballs at it, but true to his stormtrooper nature, none of his attacks actually hit the target. Fortunately, the smoke creates a distraction, allowing A to activate his super speed skill and move behind the bear. The creature tries to strike him, but he uses his super appraisal ability to perceive everything in slow motion before unleashing a powerful wind spell at the bear. He continues firing fireballs non-stop, some landing while others miss, but eventually he succeeds in knocking down the S-rank monster. Afterward, he appraises the death bear's abilities and absorbs the S+ rank skill Steel Cutter, which grants incredible durability and piercing power to his attacks. While he is recovering from the intense headache caused by absorbing the skill, Ursula tells him that he has successfully completed his training and is now prepared to climb the dungeon on his own. She then brings him back to the World Tree and tells him to be thankful, as she plans to give him one final gift before he leaves. The gift turns out to be the remaining spirit core of the world tree, and A immediately says that he cannot accept it because it is far too valuable. Ursula explains that they are merely lending him the power, since once he dies, the core will automatically return to the world tree. She uses her magic to fuse the spirit core into A's prosthetic eye, though he feels no immediate change. The old lowly woman tells him that it will take that like him a very long time to comprehend the true power of the enhanced prosthetic eye. A then turns to Yuri to thank her, only to realize that she is nowhere in sight. Confused, he asks where she went, and Yuri replies from within his prosthetic eye before manifesting in her human form. A does not understand what is happening, so Ursula explains that because his eye now contains the spirit core of the world tree, it essentially serves as a replacement world tree, meaning Yuri can reside inside it. This allows her to stay with him no matter where he goes. Yuri excitedly tells her that she will heal all his injuries and illnesses using her world tree drops, and while he is grateful, he asks Ursula if it is truly acceptable for him to take the spirit of the world tree along with him. Ursula responds by drop-kicking him, stating that she does not want to send Yuri off with some random human, but at the same time she wants the girl to explore the world and make good friends. That is why she has chosen to entrust Yuri to A, because despite being an idiot, he is a genuinely good person. A swears that he will take good care of Yuri, and Ursula warns him that he had better keep that promise. She then creates a glowing tattoo on his hand, which is the infinite story storage spell. After that, she pulls out a spirit sword that she forged from the raw materials Yuri provided and tells it to store it. Before he can do so, Ursula stabs his normal eye and forces him to swallow a magic stone so it can replace the damaged one. A asks her what the hell she just did, and she explains that his right eye has been replaced with a sage stone, which will connect their minds. Through this link, they can communicate at any time, and Ursula will be able to see everything he sees. She then warns him that if she ever catches him getting too close to her daughter or beating it to her, she will track him down and kill him. After that, A asks Yuri if she has any special plans once they reach the surface, and Yuri replies that she wants to meet her sisters. Ursula explains that long ago there was only one massive world tree, but it split into 9 separate parts, and Yuri is just one of them. The remaining world trees are her sisters, and A promises that they will travel across the world to meet them all. With that, he finally begins his journey, while Ursula continues guiding him by telling him which routes to take and which monsters he will encounter. A notices that defeating S-rank monsters has become much easier, and he no longer suffers headaches when absorbing their abilities because Yuri heals him instantly. Eventually, he reaches the boss room, and Ursula informs him that unless he defeats the boss, the path to the lower floors will not open. A feels uncertain because the boss monster will be far stronger than anything he has faced so far, but Yuri and Ursula encourage him to believe in himself. Motivated by their words, A enters the boss room and finds the dungeon core standing before him. Suddenly, a summoning circle appears on the ground, and from it emerges a massive stone golem. A tells Yuri to retreat back into his eye, then charges toward the golem. He easily dodges the first attack, but the golem follows up with a devastating punch. A uses one of his acquired skills to harden his hands like steel, but the impact still tears apart his leg muscles. Yuri heals him instantly, after which he activates the dissolving poison skill he obtained from killing a giant snake, melting the golem's hand. This enrages the golem, causing it to attack recklessly, but it narrowly escapes the rampage and hides behind nearby rocks. He realizes that he cannot approach the golem directly, but Ursula tells him to use the ultimate spell she taught him, as he now has enough mana. A follows her advice and immediately unleashes the ultimate magic Nova Strike, striking the golem with the force of a meteor and melting its body. He can hardly believe he is capable of such power now. Yuri then emerges from his body and begins healing him, and they holds her hands while thanking her, causing Yuri to blush. This displeases Ursula, who orders him to focus on appraising the golem's remains instead. A appraises the golem's body and obtains several high-level offensive and defensive abilities. Ursula then tells him that he can also appraise the dungeon core, though A is unsure whether it is safe. At that moment, Ursula teleports beside him and appraises the dungeon core herself, discovering that it is similar to the world tree's spirit core. She uses it to further enhance A's prosthetic eye and tells him that by defeating more dungeon bosses and using their cores, he can continue strengthening his spirit eye and grow even more powerful. After that, the 3 of them leave the boss room, and the doors seal shut behind them. Ursula explains that since the dungeon core has disappeared, the dungeon is now completely sealed, meaning the path to the world tree has been closed, and even the hole A fell through must have been sealed as well. With no one able to reach the world tree anymore, she no longer needs to stay behind to guard it, so she decides to travel with Yuri and A. Soon, they reach the surface. Meanwhile, inside a city tavern, the swordsman Zord is drinking with fellow adventurers and recounting how his party was surrounded by hellhounds in the dungeon and believed they would not survive. He twists the story, claiming that he heroically chose to sacrifice himself to save the others. Zord puts on a show of deep gratitude to gain sympathy, but when he suddenly sees a standing behind him, he spits out his drink. Zord demands to know how A is still alive, and when A calmly says that he simply defeated the monsters, Zord refuses to believe it. The other adventurers tell Zord that he should be happy his savior survived, but A interrupts and says that Zord was lying. He reveals that Zord and Jeline paralyzed him with magic and abandoned him to die at the hands of the monsters. This revelation enrages the adventurers, who begin throwing anything they can grab at Zord. However, A stops them, saying that despite everything, Zord was the only person who ever accepted him into a party. He thanks him for everything and then walks away, shocking everyone in the inn because his personality has completely changed. After that, A, Yuri, and Ursula begin traveling through various dungeons, defeating bosses and absorbing dungeon cores. They continue searching for world trees inside those dungeons, but even after several months, they fail to find any. While returning from one such expedition, they hear screams and rush toward the source, discovering monsters attacking a carriage. A quickly slaughters the monsters and absorbs their abilities while Yuri and Ursula heal the injured soldiers. A then goes to check on a pink-haired girl inside the carriage, who instantly falls in love with him at first sight and clings tightly to him. Calling him a hero makes A feel confused and embarrassed, but he soon learns that the girl is Claudia, the third princess of the kingdom, and the man accompanying her is Jasper, the head of the merchant guild. The princess invites A and his companions to her palace to express her gratitude, and after that she immediately prepares to make a move on him. However, Yuri steps between them and boldly declares that she is A's wife. A is stunned by this announcement, but an even bigger shock follows when Claudia casually says that she would be happy to become his second wife. As the two girls begin arguing over the matter, the merchant Jasper approaches A and tells him that he should marry him instead. A panics at this suggestion because he never imagined he would be equally attractive to both men and women, but Jasper explains that he has a special reason for saying so. He then leads A and the others to his treasury, explaining that he enjoys collecting rare and valuable gemstones, and that A's left eye is a spirit core, which is the most valuable gem of all. A is shocked to realize that Jasper has discovered his secret, and the merchant proceeds to tell him the legend of the original world tree, which exhausted all of its power to seal the demon lord before vanishing from the world. Jasper explains that he has been searching for its spirit core for many years, and now that he has finally found it, he wants to keep it by his side forever. A wants to refuse because he is straighter than a ruler, but Ursula tells him that Jasper possesses both wealth and information about the world tree, meaning his help could be useful in finding the other world trees. A reluctantly agrees to stay close to him, but clearly states that they will only be friends at first. Jasper accepts this condition without complaint and confidently tells A that one day he will surely become a proud member of his harem. Soon after, A, Yuri, and Ursula head to a hidden dungeon that Jasper told them about, hoping to find Yuri's sisters there. A enters the dungeon alone and quickly runs into a dead end, but Ursula tells him that there is a teleportation spell carved into the wall and that he can activate it by touching it. The moment A touches the spell, he finds himself inside a vast forest. He panics at the sight of a forest existing within a dungeon, and Ursula explains that it appears a powerful illusion has altered the dungeon's appearance. A realizes that only something as powerful as a world tree could create an illusion on such a massive scale. Suddenly, a voice echoes from nowhere, and Yuri recognizes it as belonging to her mischievous sister, Pina. Pina emerges from A's eye to speak with Yuri, expressing her happiness at seeing her sister again and asking her to meet at the end of the dungeon. A complains to the mischievous Loli that Yuri came all this way just to meet her and that she should immediately use teleportation magic to bring them over, but Pina replies that she cannot use teleportation and that they will have to walk through the forest instead. Yuri agrees without hesitation, while A tells her to relax and let her boyfriend handle the hard work, causing Yuri to blush. A then tells Yuri to return to his eye, warning her that the forest could be dangerous and that he can clear it faster on his own. Pina mocks his confidence, saying she has set hundreds of deadly traps throughout the forest along with ferocious monsters, and that no human could ever make it through. A responds that they will see about that and moves forward, while Ursula analyzes the situation through his right eye. He gains precise information about each trap and how to avoid them, allowing him to speedrun through the forest and completely frustrate Pina. She tells him to at least pretend to struggle since she worked hard setting up those traps. Yuri adds that Pina enjoys creating things and entertaining people with them, and replies that this kind of entertainment can easily cost someone their life. Pina responds by saying she is not a murderer and that she always teleports people out before they face serious danger. She then warns that even stronger monsters are coming next and urges A to give up, but he declares that he will stop at nothing to make Yuri happy. At that moment, an S-rank plant monster appears in front of him and attacks using sleep-inducing pollen, but A has full ailment resistance and does not even feel drowsy, which frustrates Pina. He summons his sword and kills the plant monster in a single strike, then appraises it to obtain its skills. He learns that its unique ability allows him to generate seeds for all kinds of plants, which he considers very useful. Suddenly, something strikes his head, and A wonders what is happening and why he cannot detect the attacker. Ursula explains that the enemies are using stealth skills, while Pina is shocked that it remains standing after taking a direct hit to the head. A tells her that he has surprise attack nullification, meaning he takes no damage from such strikes, which only angers her further. On top of that, Ursula locates the attacker's positions, allowing A to use gravity magic to crush them instantly. After their deaths, the stealth ants become visible, and A uses his appraisal skill to copy both their stealth ability and explosive jumping power. Pina begins crying because nothing she tries works on him, but she regains her confidence and sends two S-rank monsters to attack him simultaneously. A simply activates his super speed and kills both monsters with a single strike. When Pina learns that he is merely an appraiser despite being so powerful, she finally gives up. Meanwhile, Zord, the swordsman from A's former party, has hit rock bottom. Everyone at the guild avoids him, and even Jeline starts acting innocent, claiming that Zord forced her to paralyze A. The simps at the guild believe Jeline and expel Zord, telling him that no one will ever form a party with him again. Enraged, Zord curses A for surviving, believing that if A had died quietly, none of this would have happened. Determined to restore his reputation, Zord accepts a high-difficulty quest to hunt a C-rank monster in the same dungeon that hides the entrance to Pina's domain. When he accidentally touches the teleportation spell, he finds himself inside the forest and decides to search for powerful monsters. However, he immediately triggers a trap, and just as he is about to fall onto the spikes below and meet his end, he is teleported back to the previous dungeon. Pina's voice echoes, telling him that no one dies in her dungeon and that she will teleport him out before anything serious happens, encouraging him to try as much as he wants. Zord believes this is his chance to grow stronger and reclaim his honor, so he repeatedly re-enters the dungeon, suffering injuries from traps but refusing to give up. Eventually, he encounters a giant crocodile monster and, blinded by his desire for glory, attacks it. The monster proves far too strong and sends him flying with a light tap. Pina tells him to give up and offers to return him to the other dungeon, but he refuses. The monster then stomps on his injured arm, crushing it, and Zord screams in pain as the monster prepares to finish him. Just as he braces for death, A suddenly arrives and kills the giant crocodile with a single swing of his sword. Zord can only see A's back at first and assumes he is a high-ranking adventurer with a rare job class, but when he realizes it is A, he is left speechless. He asks what A is doing there and how a trash picker like him could one-shot such a powerful monster. A casually replies that he is just warming up, then notices Zord's injuries and asks Yuri for help. He pours her holy water over Zord, completely healing him, which leaves Zord even more confused. Before Zord can ask any questions, A puts him to sleep with magic and asks Pina to send him back. After that, A resumes his speedrun and reaches the boss room. Pina tells him that she is waiting beyond it, but A worries that defeating the boss might permanently close the path to the world tree. Ursula assures him that as long as the dungeon core remains intact, that will not happen. A enters the room and finds that even the boss chamber contains a forest. Suddenly, the ground shakes violently, and A quickly takes to the air, seeing a massive turtle emerge from the earth. He panics at the sight, but Ursula tells him to stop being like that. A attacks with fireballs, but they deal no damage, and the turtle retaliates with a powerful water blast. A slows time using super appraisal and reflects the attack back with the parry skill, yet even that causes no damage. He suddenly realizes the trick and deliberately moves under the boss's stomping feet, only to find that the attack does not touch him at all. Certain now that the giant turtle is merely an illusion, he dispels it and reveals the boss's true form, a tiny, adorable turtle. Ursula praises A for figuring it out on his own, admitting that even she could not see through such a powerful illusion. A picks up the baby turtle and appraises it, discovering that it is the offspring of one of the 4 mythic beasts of creation. Ursula panics upon seeing this description, explaining that the 4 mythic beasts are nearly on the same level as the original world tree. A then turns to Pina and asks whether he truly needs to defeat the adorable baby turtle to clear the trial, since he has effectively already won. Pina insists that it is still the boss, but when both A and the baby turtle look at her with innocent puppy eyes, she gives in. She allows A and the others to come to her location, and the two sisters reunite emotionally. Pina then quickly gets down to business and asks Yuri if she can also travel with her, explaining that she has grown bored of staying inside alone. That A has no problem with that idea at all, because it means adding another girl to his party and gaining even more power for his left eye, so he immediately gives his consent. After that, the baby turtle climbs down from A's shoulder and suddenly transforms into a young girl. She introduces herself as Kiro, Pina's guardian and the daughter of the divine beast Genu. A completely freaks out when he sees this transformation, but the person who is even more shocked is Ursula, who immediately snaps into an attention stance and begins speaking to Kiro as if she were the strictest teacher in an academy. A has no idea what is happening, and then Ursula tells him that he must obtain Kiro's permission before taking Pina outside. A kneels in front of Kiro and politely asks for her approval, which she happily grants. She then presents A with a sage stone, explaining that she also wants to travel with him and see the world for herself. Ursula processes this development in silence. The following day, the merchant Jasper escorts A to the Adventurers Guild. A feels extremely nervous about showing up with such an influential figure because he worries that people will assume he is some kind of playboy who sold his pride to a wealthy sugar daddy. Jasper tells him to have more confidence, assuring him that everyone will soon witness his true value. When they arrive, the receptionist enthusiastically greets Jasper and nearly calls the guild master to meet him, but Jasper stops her and explains that he has no official business today and is simply there to sell items on behalf of his friend. The receptionist asks for A's adventurer license, and when she sees that he is only an F-rank appraiser, she immediately lashes out, claiming there is no way someone like him could hunt monsters. The people around them begin mocking A as well, assuming he is trying to scam Jasper. A becomes increasingly uneasy as the insults pile up, but Jasper tells him to show them exactly what he is carrying. A pulls out numerous rare monster drops from his infinite storage, leaving everyone speechless as they stare at items they had previously only heard about in legends. Still unwilling to believe it, they accuse A of stealing the loot. His confidence sinks lower than the Titanic, and he instantly regrets ever coming to the guild. At that moment, a tomboyish woman storms in and orders everyone to shut up, stating that no one should be judged by their job class. Everyone recognizes her as the guild master, Megan, and the room falls silent. Megan quickly notices that there is something unusual about A's eyes, while the receptionist finishes verifying that all of the items are genuine. Jasper openly declares that A defeated all of those monsters on his own and personally vouches for him. The receptionist immediately apologizes, begging A for forgiveness, and even Megan tells him not to hold it against the girl for judging him by his profession. A feels relieved and thanks her with a smile, which causes Megan to take an interest in him. She remarks that he looks cute and jokingly says she would like to make him her boy toy, leaving A completely flustered and unsure how to respond. Megan laughs and tells him to think about her offer since they will be seeing each other frequently anyway, then returns to her office. The receptionist asks A to wait while she calculates the value of his loot, but Jasper suddenly tells him to bring out the items obtained from the hidden dungeon as well. When the adventurers hear that A has cleared a hidden dungeon, they lose their minds and instantly start treating him like a celebrity. A hates being the center of attention and runs away as soon as he can. Later, while relaxing in a hot bath, Yuri suddenly appears beside him, causing A to panic because he has never seen a girl in her birthday suit before. Pina soon follows, teasing A by pointing out that his third leg is reacting to Yuri. She also starts teasing Yuri, but then Ursula shows up and nearly blows A apart with powerful magic for daring to look at her daughter's body. A immediately escapes outside to avoid further embarrassment and finds Kiro relaxing nearby. Kiro thanks him for bringing her and Pina along, saying that she has not seen Pina this happy in a very long time. A replies that he plans to search for the remaining sisters as well, but Kiro grows somber and explains that there were originally 7. A is shocked, and Kiro clarifies that the eldest world tree vanished long ago, though its spirit core was not completely destroyed. She believes that Etna, the spirit of that world tree, is still alive somewhere with her guardian, but their whereabouts are unknown. The next day, A wakes up feeling refreshed and decides to resume his search for the other world trees. He visits Jasper's office, where he is surprised to find Guild Master Megan waiting for him with a special quest. She explains that his mission is to defeat Behemoth, a monstrous dragon created by the Demon Lord in ancient times. When the Demon Lord disappeared, Behemoth vanished as well, but it has recently resurfaced. Megan asks A to take down the SS rank monster, and Jasper adds that the mission could easily cost him his life. Both of them make it clear they will understand if he refuses, but A accepts without hesitation. Megan thanks him and wishes him success. The next day, A travels to the area where Behemoth was sighted. Ursula explains that the monster is an ancient earth dragon capable of absorbing mana and firing devastating bullets that can tear through space itself. She tells A that Behemoth hides beneath the sand during the day and instructs him to draw it out. A summons his sword and unleashes his ultimate spell, blasting a massive crater into the ground. The enraged dragon emerges and demands to know who disturbed its sleep. Although it looks weak, Behemoth senses the powerful magic he just used. The dragon recalls that it was created overwhelmingly powerful by the demon lord and has long sought an opponent worthy of entertaining it. Seeing potential in A, Behemoth asks who he is. A calmly introduces himself as the man who will kill him. Behemoth laughs, boasting that he is the strongest monster created by the Demon King. A responds that he could defeat the Demon King as well, implying that he cannot be that strong either. Enraged by the insult to his master, Behemoth fires magical bullets at A, who effortlessly dodges them. A rushes forward and slashes the dragon's arm, shocking Behemoth as his nearly indestructible scales are cut with ease. Changing tactics, the dragon burrows underground, reappears beneath A, and swallows him whole, confident in his victory. However, in the next instant, Behemoth's mouth explodes from the inside. Even as his body is destroyed, he remains conscious and realizes this is his first and final defeat. Admitting his mistake, he asks A how he was defeated. A explains that he cast his ultimate spell inside the dragon's body after analyzing that Behemoth absorbs mana through his scales, making internal attacks far more effective. He also reveals that he protected himself with a barrier beforehand. Accepting his loss, Behemoth praises A's strength as his soul dissipates into smoke. A then appraises the dragon and copies multiple SS rank skills, including magic attack nullification, vacuum control, and earth manipulation. A few days later, A and Yuri visit the royal palace at Princess Claudia's invitation. She has already decided to become A's second wife without asking him, and although he tries to snap her out of it, she explains that she invited him to meet her father. A panics when the king suddenly enters, stammering through his introduction, but despite his stern appearance, the king turns out to be warm and has already accepted A as his son-in-law without his consent. He thanks A for defeating Behemoth and for saving his daughter, even bowing to him. A nervously asks him to thank Yuri instead, saying he could not have done anything without her. The king expresses his gratitude to Yuri and tells A he looks forward to his future accomplishments. Before leaving, the king gifts A silver watch bearing the royal emblem, granting him unrestricted access throughout the kingdom. Although A feels it is excessive, he accepts it, believing it may help him uncover more information about Yuri's family. Meanwhile, news of Behemoth's defeat spreads throughout the city, and A becomes widely admired. Everyone praises him except Zord, who is now treated like trash. Jealous of A's rapid rise to fame and power, Zord blames him for all his misfortune. Though consumed by rage, he knows he cannot act against A right now. At that moment, a mysterious woman appears before Zord, introducing herself as the Spirit EA and claiming she can grant him the power he needs for revenge. Elsewhere, A finds himself trapped in a nightmare about his past, reliving memories of Zord humiliating him while he smiled and endured the abuse. He tries to scream at his past self, but his voice goes unheard. Suddenly, hellhounds devour his body, filling him with terror as he realizes how easily his life could have ended. His half-eaten corpse crawls toward him, mocking him for surviving only due to luck and accusing him of being weak and useless without the world tree. Overwhelmed, A screams as the nightmare abruptly ends. Ursula is sitting beside him, asking if he is okay. Regaining consciousness, A learns that he collapsed from exhaustion after meeting the king and has been sleeping since. Ursula complains that Yuri has been worried about him, prompting A to ask where she is. Ursula replies that Yuri and Pina went for a walk in the city and assures him that she is tracking Yuri at all times and can teleport to her instantly if something happens. A then tells Ursula about his nightmare, starting to believe that the voice in his dream may have been right, convincing himself that his strength exists only because luck led him to Yuri, yet deep inside, he still believes that he is the same worthless trash who is good for nothing. Meanwhile, Zord is trying to fully process the proposal made by the tanned woman, Idna, as he struggles to believe that there is truly a way to stand against A. Etna tells him that he became powerful without putting in real effort, all because of the spirit eye. Zord accepts her explanation and begins cursing A for cheating his way to strength. Etna laughs at this reaction and offers him the very same power. Hearing this, Zord becomes excited and immediately says that he wants the spirit eye as well. Etna summons a corrupted version of the evil eye and forcefully embeds it into Zord's forehead. Zord screams in agony as his body undergoes a grotesque transformation into a demon. Pleased with the outcome, Etna slowly licks her lips in a disturbing manner and tells Zord to go and claim his revenge. Zord lets out a thunderous roar and leaps high into the sky, feeling overwhelmingly fast and powerful. As he bounds across rooftops, he suddenly spots Jeline walking with her new boyfriend. Deciding to settle the score with them first, he instantly lands in front of the couple. Her boyfriend tries to shield her from the green monster, but Zord does not hesitate and bites his head off in a single motion. Jeline is frozen in shock and despair, and when she hears Zord speak, she recognizes his voice. Realizing that he has come for revenge, she desperately tries to calm him down. She apologizes repeatedly, promising to tell the guild that she cast the paralysis spell on A entirely of her own free will. Zord is not convinced, and in her panic, Jeline says she will do absolutely anything he wants. Without hesitation, Zord bites her head off as well that he begins rampaging through the city, destroying buildings and injuring innocent civilians. Fortunately, Yuri and Pina are nearby, and Yuri immediately uses her healing powers to tend to the wounded. Edna senses Yuri's presence and communicates with Zord through telepathy, telling him to stop wasting time on ordinary people and instead target the spirits. She explains that if he kills them, A will no longer be able to draw power from them. Zord likes this strategy and instantly moves behind Yuri to attack her. Yuri is so terrified that she cannot even move, but at the last second, Pina erects a barrier around Zord, shielding her sister. She grabs Yuri's hand and starts running while Zord relentlessly punches the barrier. Edna tells him that brute force will not break it and instructs him to use the special power contained within his spirit eye. Zord channels the anti-spirit energy from the eye, causing a dark aura to envelop his arm, and with a single strike, he shatters the barrier. He then leaps after Yuri and Pina, catching up almost instantly. Pina raises another barrier in desperation, but Zord's anti-spirit power destroys it as well, sending her flying. Pina is horrified when she sees her barrier shattered so effortlessly and begins to lose hope. At that moment, Yuri steps in front of her and tells her to run away. Zord grabs Yuri immediately and starts crushing her while telling her to blame A for her impending death. As he moves to finish her off, Yuri desperately calls out to A for help. And the very next moment, A teleports to the scene and slashes Zord,